donations. Haha.
So definitely that is a way to contribute if you don't want to hop on Patreon. But wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna find some way of getting myself back into like a
I've got one.
McJokerson.
Let's jump right into the next one.
What do you call a cat?
Nope.
With
George in Texas. You're live with Eric and Jaime. Hi, George.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
What'd you want to talk about?
I want to talk about how Buddhism is a true religion.
All right. So, let's talk about it. Why do you think Buddhism is the true religion?
Can you describe very briefly what you mean by Buddhism? Because there's a couple main parts. Do you believe that gods exist?
Yes, because other Buddhists do not. And I wanted to spread that message. I think they should.
Okay. So
Why?
you've got the Theravada Buddhism. Do you have, just very quickly, sorry, just the nature of your God? Is it like Brahmin and there's one, or do you have like polytheism? Just so I know what we're about to deal with. Because then we got to launch into the why. But I feel like assumptions here, particularly because we're not experts on Buddhism.
I was just going to have him explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of going for. So can you describe sort of briefly what the tenets of what you're calling Buddhism are? Like what is it a little bit more specifically that you believe?
I believe that God is monotheistic, but he kind of lives in everything of the earth.
Okay. So why do you think that, George?
Because I don't think that water and trees are just water and trees.
So is that a good reason? Is that a good reason to believe in a God?
Well, when I look at them, sometimes I hear it talking to me.
So hold on. Do you hear voices, George?
Well,
like an auditory voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
how can you determine that what you're hearing is not
in your brain?
Yeah. Because I think you would probably agree with us that there are people who
hear voices and it's in their brain,
who are ill, right? Who need help, that hear voices, right? How can you determine someone who's ill from someone who's not?
Well, when I heard it, I just felt the echo around my head.
So presumably there would be other people that are experiencing the same thing that you are, where they hear water and trees, I think, speaking to them, or it's an echo. To be clear, the trees are speaking words to you, or is it just like a sound that's echoing?
Well, I think God is using water and trees and plants and air to speak to me, using that.
So, speak to you in a literal sense, like, oh, you should play the lottery numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, obviously not that literally, but using words, or is it I feel like I should be happy today?
Well, I'll hear rarely words, maybe once a month, and I'll hear something as you'll have a great day today.
Okay.
And
hold on. So, George, I asked you a question. I'd want to get back to that.
Yeah.
Do you agree that there are people who hear voices that are mentally ill?
I do. I do agree with that.
Okay. How can you tell the difference between hearing voices that are strictly in your head and hearing the voice of a God?
It felt like God to me.
Okay,
so
no, wait.
if it feels like God to someone,
So hold on a second, right? You said it feels like God to you.
It felt like it.
Okay. Can you make that claim to know that that is true? Like, is there anything, like if I do a math problem and I say 2 + 2 = 5, it feels really good. Does that make 2 + 2 = 5?
Yeah.
I'm done.
so when we're talking about things that are true, right? So 2 + 2 = 4, right? Like by definition, the definition of those concepts equals that. Presumably, we can be on the same page about that. George?
If we know for sure that it's 4,
Yeah.
I think the voice might be wrong.
Right. So okay, but a moment ago you said that if you heard a voice and a person felt like that voice was God, and it told them that 2 + 2 was 5, that would mean that 2 + 2 was equal to 5.
Mm.
Is that still something that you would say is true?
I mean, I would assume that the voice is truthful, but
So
I don't know.
to be clear, you're saying that you're hearing voices and that this is leading you to the conclusion that it's a God, right? Why would you conclude that a voice is truthful and divine rather than deceitful and demonic, or a product of human psychology?
I'll be honest, I think a lot of people hear voices, and I think it is a mental illness. But I just felt it through my body. I thought it was real.
Okay, so there are people who have mental illness where they hear voices and they feel it in their body, right? Do you think that they should conclude that a God exists on that basis?
I would have to say no.
Okay, so if you're hearing voices and you're feeling that they're true in your body, do you think that you should come to the conclusion that a God exists on that basis?
No.
Okay, so if you're not going to conclude on that basis that a God exists, and that's up until this point in the conversation the only thing we've addressed, why would you believe that a God exists?
Well, I just was influenced that way because the voice just felt really good.
Okay, well, a lot of things feel really good. Heroin feels really good, I'm told. We have an opioid crisis, etc.
I think I took some of them before.
Sorry? I didn't hear the last thing that you said.
I took, I don't know what it was.
Okay, well, drug use aside, so as far as believing things based on whether or not they're true, would you agree that it is, generally better for a person to have an understanding of the world that, is real and comports with the way the world works as opposed to not, right? So, for example, if a person chooses to go through life believing things based on coin flips, for example, they have the concept that if they jump off a cliff, they'll either fall or they won't, and they flip a coin to determine whether or not that's true. Would you agree that that's a bad way to determine what is real, like what is true about reality? Because a coin flip can be heads or tails, and you can flip it twice on the same question and get heads one time and tails on another time. Right? Like, is that a good way to come to a conclusion? I know it's not your way, but is that a good way?
No.
Okay, so
I wouldn't think so.
yeah, so the thing that I was getting at there is, if there is a method that a person is using to determine whether or not something is true, and it can yield completely opposite results from that we can conclude that it's not a good method to use to determine what's true. Right? So if people all over the world throughout time can use how they feel about the world to come to varying conclusions, as we've already agreed unjustifiably about various gods, then I also don't see how you could settle on a specific theology or why you would even go down that path. Have you considered other ways of coming to know what is true?
What?
Right. So you've said that, about once a month you hear words from a tree and it feels good, right? So
Yeah.
I would say, cool, it's nice to feel good. I think probably learning more about human psychology, everyone, everywhere, regardless of, what stage of life they're in, et cetera, benefits from seeing a therapist or a counselor. I would say that is probably a good way to start as far as thinking about, well, why do I believe the things that I believe, right? And what methods am I using to believe them, and are those reliable? Because if your goal is to seek truth and understanding of the world, you want to find the best method to do that and then apply it. Does that make sense so far?
Oh, you're smart.
Thank you. Yeah, and I like having these conversations.
Yeah. I like it too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here,
That
I
helped me
think
out.
we're gonna. Yeah, I think for this particular show, I think Eric is actually anxious to get on to the next caller. Can I ask you to call back in again next week and maybe stay in touch with us, online in between those?
I don't know if I'll be alive by then.
You don't know if you'll be alive next week?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm also at risk of, being hit by a bus. Is there a particular mortal danger that you're in that you're willing to talk about?
I haven't ate in a long time.
You should probably eat some more. It's a good thing to do. I would say, find a safe place to be, some food to eat, and then, go from there. Are you going to be able to do that?
I'll try. I'll try my best.
Okay. I mean, that's all that people can do. And I really hope to keep in touch with you, George. I feel a little bit bad because we got to move on to the next caller because I think we were really sort of starting to get somewhere. Can I ask you if you're going to think about some of the things we talked about in this conversation between now and next week?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Whatever spare time you got, and, I hope you get, a good meal, hot meal, cold meal, whatever you'd like. But I think we're going to move on to the next caller, and I hope to hear from you online if you can get in touch with us online on Facebook or Reddit or by email. I don't know if you use any of those. Actually, George, we're in a moment we're going to put you back on hold, and some people in the booth are going to talk to you and probably get you some more resources for help with that. But I hope that you'll keep in touch. Can we put you back on hold?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, and thank you for calling in. I feel like this was a good conversation.
All right, thank you.
All right, cool.
All right.
Well,